Ooh, look at that. 2 likes already. Welcome,
Boom.
guys, to the show. I've got Movie Dean hanging with me tonight. How are you
What's
doing,
up,
Dean?
people? Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, check out his channel. I linked it down in the description below. We are going to be talking about all things Ahsoka. So if you have not yet gotten up to date on the 3rd episode of Ahsoka, you need to go do that first. But you probably already have because you clicked on this right now. Put us picture in picture. We'll wait. We'll sit here for 36 minutes and then you can come back. But if you are hopping in, do not be afraid to hop in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to interact with you if you've got questions, comments. We're going to be sharing some of what we're thinking about. Dean has a spicy take that I'm not seeing
Ooh,
from many other folks. And he's
I'm so
got,
shocked. I'm so
yeah,
shocked that you haven't seen it from people. I think it's pretty clear.
I think people have gone where you've gone, but no one, I think, picked up on what you picked up on to be as covert, because we'll get there. But yeah, so Dean, 3 episodes in to Ahsoka, what are your impressions as we've now got a full 3 episode chunk to kind of analyze? How do you feel?
Well, I'm liking it. All right. Like, there was a lot on the line for this series, and there still is. Like, I'm not saying like this is going to be a success of a series based off of the last 3 episodes. I still think it's kind of like it could go either way at this point. But so far, I'm digging the story. The overall story for this thing is super interesting to me. The one thing that keeps on coming up for me, though, is that we're 3 episodes in, and I don't know a single new thing about Ahsoka. Like, the show is called Ahsoka, and I don't know
Yeah.
anything new about Ahsoka other than that Sabine is like her Padawan and
Yeah.
was her
Yeah.
Padawan. Maybe like they obviously had some kind of falling out, but I other than that, like character wise, we haven't gotten anything new from Ahsoka, and that's a little bit of a downer for me. But I'm also a big enough Rebels fan that I'm like I'm digging some of this stuff
Sure.
of seeing where Hera's at, especially in this episode. Thought that was really cool. Sabine, seeing her again, obviously, where's Ezra? All of that search for him, Grand Admiral Thrawn, all that Rebels season 5 stuff is super cool to me. Very excited.
Jason, we got Jason.
Yeah, dude, green hair and all.
I
I
think
was
he looks
so
great.
shocked.
It looked good. It looked good.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that they did a little bit of a darker green because,
Mm-hmm.
like, the cartoon, obviously, like, it's
Yeah.
cartoon.
Yeah.
It's going to look a certain way. I thought it was going to look really goofy if they went there, and they did, but it was a little bit toned down. I thought it was super cool. It's just really fun to see where all these characters ended up, especially like having the time gap going from Rebels all the way to the end of the war and finding out, all these characters that I at least I loved in Rebels, like
Sure.
they're still around and they're still doing stuff and catching up a little bit on where they've been. That's kind of fun, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not what I thought we were getting with Ahsoka.
Yeah. Well, and I've come full circle in a way to say that you're right. I wish we had gotten more. I agreed 100%. I think you had a take earlier on the first 2 episodes that it should be called the Sabine Show, and I felt the same way. I came out of episodes 1 and 2 going, like I don't dislike Sabine, but that was a lot of her and not a lot of other things. And then this 3rd episode kind of flipped me around, and I've come around because I can see where it's going, and I understand that there's a lot of people that might be watching this show that didn't watch Rebels. And so I think without the context they're getting between Ahsoka and Sabine and some of the Hera stuff and some of these other things, they would be very lost. Obviously, coming from seeing Rebels and knowing everything, it's a little different. But so I'm going to give them some grace that they're feeling probably
Sure.
more need. But this past episode, I think, had so much in it. I can't believe so much happened or there's so much to talk about in just a 30-minute episode. But I really, really think there's some big things on the horizon. And one of them has to do with Merrick, and people have kind of had these opinions all over. Is it Starkiller back again?
Yeah.
Is it Barris Offee? And we're going to get this tension between Offie and Ahsoka. What do you think about it and why?
Well, I think everyone is looking for there to be more from Merrick, right?
I agree.
Like,
Yep.
is it Merrick or is it Maroc? I never know.
Merrick,
I don't know. I feel like it's been said differently on the show.
It's
But
probably
we'll go with
Maroc,
Merrick.
but I'm going to Galen Merrick. And
Oh, okay.
in my mind, I go there because of Stark, but it's
Yeah, that
probably
makes sense.
Maroc is probably a better pronunciation.
But yeah, like however you call his name, Maroc or Merrick, like there's obviously something going on with this guy. One, he is the only other dude. Like apparently Balin just has robots everywhere. You know, I get like it's probably from I don't know her name, but Dathomir witch lady. You know, the
Oh,
big ring.
yeah, Morgan.
Yeah, Morgan. It's probably from Morgan, but like, yeah, I those droids are expensive, and they have like just like an endless supply of them. But he's the only other guy, and he's wearing a mask, and like obviously it's like the Inquisitor stuff and the double bladed lightsaber that is spinning and whatnot. Like, yes, he's an Inquisitor, but like, there's just something more to this guy. He's just always there. He's always just standing there, and they drop his name way more than like even Balin and what is
Shin.
it? Shin. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like anyone's said Shin's name in this series, but they just like keep on being like Marok or Marok or whatever, and like talking to him and like saying like, oh, he needs to do that and he needs to do that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why? Why are you doing this? Why is he always there? And so I think that there definitely is a mystery to this guy. And for me, like as soon as I saw him, I'm like, that's Ezra. Like that's Ezra. I don't like just like the weird, like how movies do this, where it's just like real, like they're thinking they're being really subtle about like, oh, we'll just put this here. We'll just have this person standing here and nothing's going to happen. It's like in a TV show when that person is in the background, but it's a famous face that you recognize. And you're like, well, that guy's the murderer, right? Like, I feel like that's what Maroc is with Ezra. I just immediately I was like, he's Ezra. But there have been a couple clues. Like there was the lightsaber that was spinning, and Ahsoka in a weird move. Like I don't know. People are saying like it was like a cocky move to kind of like just move to let the lightsaber fly back past her head. But I think there is more to that. Like she was just like looking at him, like maybe she knew something was going on, or had like there seemed to be some kind of familiarity between the two, at least to me.
Sure.
So I was like, maybe that's something. But this episode, man, had two hints that I think are huge. The first being is that he's a dude.
Because
like,
you heard his voice.
The voice.
Yep.
And even though it was, a little bit electric and, they were trying to disguise his voice, which is also something like, why would they need to disguise his voice if it's just some Inquisitor?
Yeah.
And he's not a droid. Yeah. He's a person. And it's a guy. But then when they're flying and the Purgle are around and like, everyone's like looking at it like, oh, this is beautiful. Like, wow, this is so cool. And they go to him and he's looking at it. His eyes are drawn away and he's looking at the Purgle. To me, it kind of felt like something like he felt something as he saw them. But again, he's wearing the mask, so we can't see his face. But then there's purpose to the direction, I think, of going from him locked in his cockpit, looking at the Purgle, to Shin looking directly at them and going like still shooting and like being really focused on just getting these Jedi. And I think that distraction either is because of some familiarity, some feeling, but to me, that was like the biggest evidence we've gotten so far. And I think proof that it's Ezra. I could be wrong. Like maybe next week, I think I said this last time I talked about it last week. Maybe they kill him off in the next episode, but for me, I'm pretty sure that it's Ezra at this point.
Yeah, well, and as this is what is fun about Star Wars, right? We get to think about and theorize and come up with ideas about what we think might happen, and most of the time we are wrong. But that's not the fun stuff. The fun stuff is thinking about it, and it's not like it's a big deal if you're wrong. Oh well, I was wrong. So one of the things I've been thinking more about, if it is Ezra, I'm wondering the whole thing that I can't figure out, and maybe they'll answer this if it is or whatever, is Ezra was where Thrawn was.
Hmm.
So somehow Ezra came back maybe on then a Purgle and something messed up because I'm trying to figure out how would he end up with Balin, and is it, and maybe he does end up with Balin and he's worked with Balin and Balin wants to get to Thrawn because of what Ezra has said, if it is as you know what I mean, but how
Yeah.
did they get from point A to B with Ezra? And do you have any thoughts on how that's come about? Or
Not really. I think it'll be one of those things that if it is him, which I think it is, I don't want to say if anymore. I'm going to roll with it. I think it's the
plant the
truth. Okay,
flag.
Jeremy? I think it's
Plant
the
the
truth.
flag. Do it.
But I think what it will be is something like, I don't know, he got sucked out a window on the way, like, or like some Purgle took him in a different direction. Like, because we
Hmm.
don't actually know that Thrawn was ever in the same location as Ezra.
We
We
just
just know they
assumed.
left together.
Sure.
Like we
Sure.
don't get like, oh, they're together somewhere in,
Hmm.
the next universe or whatever. So maybe there was like this split and Thrawn ended up in one other spot and Ezra ended up somewhere else. Maybe Balin rescued him. It seems like maybe there's like some amnesia, some soap opera junk going on where he
Hmm.
can't remember who he is. And maybe Balin took him in and was like, hey, like we could use his powers, and maybe he does know who Ezra is, maybe he doesn't, but
Hmm.
like I think it's something like that, some kind of mixture of amnesia and they got separated. Now, whether that means like got separated on the way and they total like always in different locations, or maybe they were in the same location, Ezra escaped with some Purgle and got back into, our Star Wars galaxy.
Yeah, I think obviously I think there's a way they could work it out if need be. There's a lot of issues, but there's a lot of issues with every single of these theories of who we think Marak is. Here it is. John Adams text hanging out. He said,
Hey.
"Haven't seen it yet. I don't know why you're here, but welcome. Um, just wanted you to know the two dudes I think are the best nerds I know." Well, thank you, John. You're the best tech person I know. That's for sure. I don't want it spoiled, so I'm out. That's fine. You're come back. Go watch. We'll still be here.
He'll watch it in like a year.
Yeah, it took him what 2 years later he watched Andor,
Yeah.
or maybe he hasn't even. I think it was 2 years later it was Kenobi. I don't even know if he's watched Andor yet. But anyway,
Needs
regardless
to.
of all that,
Everyone needs to.
I think there are some issues that would need to be resolved, but there are with all of the other theories. I think it's interesting. I hadn't really caught the Purgle view of Marak looking at them until I saw your video and was like, huh, that's right, that did happen. Because I was just like, the Purgles are here. It was a moment because there was a moment between Ahsoka and Sabine. The music shifted. They looked at each other like we're getting close. Like there was this moment of they're on the right track. That's where
Yeah.
my mind was stuck. So I think it's interesting. The only other thing I can think is this whole thing is a ploy and he's no one, because I don't think any of the other theories really work out for me. I don't think it's going to be Starkiller. Even though there's been a lot of
Powerful
hype
dude.
and yeah, and or a clone of Starkiller. Again, still I think too much. It's either going to just be some rando um, Inquisitor, or I think it's going to be something big, like
I,
Ezra.
I could
So,
get behind if it's a clone of Luke,
hmm,
like going into that whole thing.
hmm.
Like I think that could be fun and explored well, but also, like would they risk that with the fans? Because there could be a lot of backlash if they do that wrong.
Yeah. I though I will say Filoni is not playing this safe, right? Just the fact that there's a whole nother galaxy that in
Yeah,
some
true.
ways could fix some of the problems people have had with the sequel trilogy. I think some of those choices, the choice to make Sabine a Padawan who is going to be trained in the Force, I don't think that was a safe choice. And actually,
Was it a good one?
I
That's
after the episode 3, I believe yes. Before episode
okay.
3, I was firmly like, this stinks. I don't like this.
Yeah.
This is not Rebels, right? This is different from what I know. But I saw three movements in this episode that really were impactful for that relationship between Ahsoka and Sabine that I think
Okay.
were subtle but done really well, and it all came around trust. So we open the whole thing opens with this training with Hugh Yang, which I think he's becoming like K2SO is here. He's starting to like
Oh, he's
get
getting
to
close.
I
I mean,
think
I like him too, but K2 is like way up there for me.
yeah, well, K2 would go even higher if he ends up being B from Andor.
It's fate, man. It's
It
gonna
has
happen.
to be. It has to be. Sorry if you haven't watched Andor, but you should have anyway. It's not our fault. Yeah. So this trust that's building between Ahsoka and Sabine starts with the training, and the training where some people got annoyed with putting the blaster down and all that, but she's pushing her when she knows she needs pushed. And
Sure.
it's showing Sabine, okay, Sabine, are you going to trust me or not? And the whole episode kind of comes back to multiple times where Sabine has to trust Ahsoka and Ahsoka has to trust Sabine. Sabine literally basically saves Ahsoka just floating out there after she goes all crazy. And Ahsoka completely trusts Sabine when she says, fine, you're the tail gunner. What do you need from me? Right. So there's this like back and forth in the
Yeah.
relationship that I think was good. And the one big line that shifted it for me was when Ahsoka is talking with Sabine and explains that everyone has the Force, but it's not just about talent. It's also about the training and focus that is going to make it. And then when she failed at moving the cup and she didn't get angry like she did at the training, I was like, okay, I'm in for seeing where this goes. I don't think she's ever going to have really any Force powers. I think she's
Yeah.
just going to be just a killer with the lightsaber again. I think that's where it's going for me, and I'm okay with that because I don't see her all of a sudden being able to force push people and do. I don't think she'll actually do any of that, honestly. Or if she does, it'll be one little thing when it was really needed.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I agree with a lot of that. Like, I am not a fan of Sabine having the Force in any way. Like, I do like the idea of them saying, like, well, everyone in some way has some access to the Force, like, because the Force resides in all living human
sure.
beings, all of that kind of stuff. I think that's cool. And it kind of gets back to like Ryan Johnson's Broom Boy a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, like
Mm-hmm.
anyone could be a Jedi. But can anyone be a powerful Jedi? Like that's what like I think is, yeah, like what you're talking about with talent and all of that. um I want to see her, like, maybe she can move the cup. Okay, like I'll be all right if she can move the cup, but I don't want to see like her, you know capturing a ship in her hand, like some kind of like huge crazy thing. And
Oh
I don't
no.
think you need that. I think it would be
Yeah.
cool if she's just really good with the lightsaber and maybe just more at peace. Like I could
Mm-hmm.
see that, like almost like, you know, almost in a religious way, of
Mm.
finding inner peace with the Force. Like I could see that, and I could get behind that because there's something about, Mandalorian being like a person of war,
Mm-hmm.
and then like having inner peace. That's kind of interesting. But
Well, and
if
that was the
she's like doing
line.
crazy jumps and stuff,
No,
like
yeah, yeah.
she better not be Obi-Wan.
Well, and that was the line that Ahsoka said to Hu Yang when she said, I don't want her to be a Jedi. I want her to be herself. And
Sure.
at first I felt a little cringy about it, but the more I thought about it is, okay, Ahsoka doesn't want to rebuild the Jedi. Ahsoka isn't here. Like, she didn't even want to train Sabine at first because she is no longer a Jedi herself. She walked away from that. So I think that's protecting the storyline from saying, if Sabine's getting trained, then why not Jason? Then why not other Force users? And why aren't there more Jedi around by the time we get to the sequel trilogy, right? So I think they're trying to protect some of that to say, no, this is just a one-on-one relationship, and it has nothing really to do with Jedi as much as it does she cares about Sabine to train Sabine. So I'm more okay
even
with
though
that.
we haven't
Yeah,
seen any of that in Rebels. Like, someone went back and like looked at all the interactions,
I saw that.
and there's like
Yeah.
barely any interaction between Ahsoka and Sabine in Rebels. But like, I just want to see more of it. I guess I want to see more of the interaction. Like, what I'm hoping for is that whenever this ring thing takes off and they all travel, that like it's so fast and whatnot that like they just like go unconscious. Like, that's what I'm expecting. And there to
Just
be like a whole episode of flashbacks as they're traveling.
uh, mm,
And like maybe we
kind of
get
like
more
Boba
about
Fett.
Ezra in there too, but
Yeah,
I'm assuming that's when we'll get like is Anakin going to show up? Is and we're going to
Clone
dive
Wars
deeper into
flashback.
Ahsoka's past and all of that with her training. I'm assuming that's going to happen, but I could be way wrong. But I just want something of flashbacks to be able to understand this relationship between the two. Because right now, like, I want it to work, but I need more.
Mm, that's fair. Well, and it'll be interesting to see. I think this next episode, stuff's going to hit the fan. Cody says it's all set up so they can Lucas edit the Rise of Skywalker. Now, somehow Palpatine returned from a separate galaxy where Thrawn was.
Is
Yeah,
Exegol over there?
in that galaxy, or they're saying, I, I, I don't know that they would Lucas edit that as much as they could just move the whole franchise to a new galaxy and say, bye, Ray. You can have this galaxy. We're going to make one over here that's better.
Oh man, that's
Like
bad.
for like, think about this. What if, like Ahsoka and Sabine and maybe even Hera meets up with them to try and go to this other galaxy, and they all get stuck over there, and that's or they what they find over there is intriguing, and maybe they're like, forget about the New Republic. We're over here now, and a whole new world, so to
Could
speak.
be.
But
Like, there's all kinds of opportunity. Like, it
yeah,
literally is a whole new galaxy. So like, I'm interested to see like even what's that big like buffalo looking guy in Rebels? The Bendai. You know what I'm talking
and
about?
oh yeah.
Like the big
Um,
buffalo looking
mhm.
alien that had the force and was like really powerful.
I don't remember his name, but
Is
I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
are
yeah.
there more creatures like that in this new
Hmm.
galaxy? And I'm really interested to see what that thing is going to be. I just really hope we get there pretty quick and start getting a little bit more of, again, like, I just keep on coming back to, I just want to see Ahsoka and find out more about her. Like, it's cool to get the other story stuff too, and I want that, but I want some more character development from her.
I want more of Thrawn. I want Thrawn.
Yeah.
I really don't want it to be they tease Thrawn at the last episode. Like I want to have more than I wonder what he's going to be like. Like we've been
Mhm.
wondering that since they teased it, and I want a little bit more than that. I want to see the maniacal planning. I want. I honestly actually think that we're gonna get there sooner rather than later, and the whole season is gonna end on a downer cliffhanger for the good guys. That's kind of how I feel. Maybe I'm
Yeah,
wrong on that.
I can see that
But
happen.
before we get there, so here's I haven't shared this thought yet, and I'm still trying to work it out. But I
Ooh.
think this next episode, there was something between Morgan Elsbeth and Shin, like a tension in the episode
Mm.
where like there was this moment where she's like, they're coming near you, and she's like, nope, you didn't kill him, I'll go deal with it. And it just feels like there is a distrust, and it was very counter to the trust we were seeing between Ahsoka and Sabine. I was seeing this distrust between them, and I'm sitting there wondering, is this setting up a betrayal? Is this setting up a betrayal where Balin and Shin are only with Morgan for as much as it benefits them, and as soon as it doesn't benefit them, it's all going to fall apart? And I'm wondering also, when does that line up with the eventual probable death of Balin? Because
Yeah.
with Ray Stevenson passing away, they're going to do something where that is. And does that send Shin over the edge? And does she blame Morgan? Um, I, I think there's going to be a confrontation between Balin and Ahsoka. I really hope Balin doesn't die this next episode. I want to
Yeah.
know more, but there's something there to that tension. And so I wonder if there's going to be a betrayal, whether that means Shin joins with Ahsoka or she just snaps and goes psycho, which could also just
That
be.
could be really fun. Like to see that.
I want to see that.
Yeah, I agree. There definitely is like a competitive spirit to like what they're trying to accomplish there, and who gets, like, I don't know if that's just in the eyes of Balin to see like because Balin's just, he's being all gangster on the planet. He's not even dealing with their stuff. He's like, he's better than this. He's just like over there just waiting. And so like, even though like it is Morgan who feels like she's like the right hand person of Thrawn, and like, so in a way Balin is kind of beneath her as far as the hierarchy, because it seems like she hired him.
Yeah.
Like I think on like a almost like a spiritual level, he is above her in the hierarchy. And so I think maybe Shin feels like there's a little threat to her status, maybe in the eyes of Balin. Like it seems like Balin to me is like the big bad. Like he's going to have like this epic duel. Obviously, we saw it in some of the trailers. You know, like with the rocks around him and the map going, he has his lightsaber drawn.
So yeah,
So
so
it's
did
gonna
you
happen.
see there was a video out where someone took all of the scenes from the trailers that haven't yet happened? So they took out all of the scenes that we've seen in the first 3 episodes, and what's left is the confrontation between Ahsoka and Balin, and the confrontation between Shin and Sabine again. If you remember, there was a trailer where they're fighting in the woods, and
Yes. Yeah.
also where Balin is talking with Ahsoka at that rock structure thing. So I have a feeling this next episode, Ahsoka is going to remove the heads from a bunch of HK assassin droids and end up at where Balin is, and they're going to have this moment of either. I'm intrigued to see where it goes, because Balin definitely has an affinity for Jedi. He doesn't want to kill Ahsoka, but it does feel like, if you're in my way, you have to die type of feeling. So
what's that power, man?
Well, and I'm wondering, why does he want power, or what if he wants revenge? What if there's something that he wants from Thrawn that isn't power? Like,
Maybe.
so
I don't know. At the beginning, or I think it was at the beginning of episode 2, when they're at like, I don't know, Stonehenge is what I think.
Yeah,
like
basically
with those rocks in the map. Like they're there, and he's basically, Shin is like, what's in this for us? You know, what do we want out of this? And he was like, power like you've never dreamt of. So like,
that's right.
He's got some kind of knowledge about what's over there in the galaxy. Like, I think he is like, I'll get Thrawn back in this thing, but I think he has his eyes set on that galaxy. Like there's something there, something he knows about. Obviously, he knows a lot. Like he knows about Ahsoka. Obviously, he knows about Anakin. Like, few know what he became. Like he obviously has a lot of knowledge. And so he knows something about that galaxy. And I want to know what he knows. I want to know. And I'm hoping we get that pretty quick.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to find out, how did he come of that? Like, how did it's knowledge that we don't have, but we also don't understand how he obtained it, because it would have been post Order 66 that he would have learned of these things. Otherwise, people like Hu Yang would have records and information of, oh, we're talking about X, Y, and Z. And he did have a little bit talked about the hyperspace lanes. But honestly, I'm hoping 2 things I'm hoping for. I mean, we saw that giant ring, and what is that, a giant ring? It's a bigger version of what would go around a starfighter to be able to go through hyperspace. So what is going?
Wars, people.
Yeah, what is going to go in the ring? Is a Purgle
I think it's
going to ride in the ring?
What?
Is a Purgle going to be captured in the ring to lead them?
Oh, that's interesting.
Because again, they have to follow the Purgle. How do you plot the course? Like, you have to, are you going to input? You can't input that into a computer. You have to follow them. How in the world are you actually getting there? Because again, I'm trying to think when you think of what we know of the hyperspace travel, it's very dangerous, and you have to be very precise about your coordinates so you don't hyperspace through something and basically destroy yourself. So if they're following this path, obviously the map made it look straight, but it's not. It's not going to be straight
Yeah.
like that. How do they traverse through that? It's not just you needed a bigger ship with more hyperspace. You also need to follow them through the hyperspace lane. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm thinking, Thrawn left with something. Like
Yep.
when he left in Rebels, he's in that huge ship that has
Yep.
I mean, we're assuming thousands of stormtroopers, thousands of assets for his war, like a
Yeah.
great
Yeah. Yeah.
starting
Yeah.
place for going against a new fledgling republic, right? So I'm assuming that the reason why it's so big is so that when they get there, they can, put this huge ship in that, get all the assets and bring it all back. Like for
Mm.
me, I don't know. Like I don't think it's going to be like the Purgle. Like that's kind of cool. I would dig it if that's the way they go. But I'm thinking like they got all like they say like they're ready to go basically. I would imagine like capturing a Purgle would be pretty hard. So
Just a giant net and there's
yeah. Like I don't know if they like maybe they watch Avatar 2 and they like know exactly how to get a whale and like separate it from I'm just getting a lot of parallels between those two. But I don't know. I would think that it's actually pretty cool, but I think that it's more about making sure it's this big
coming back.
so they can bring I
The
I want
ship
to say it's
back.
like the Crimea. That sounds
Is it?
wrong to me.
I mean,
Uh,
that's his ship. I don't remember. I haven't gone back to double check if it was the Crimea that he was officially on.
yeah.
And if you're here, there's 4 of you here. Do any of you know any Rebel aficionados who know the lore inside and out? What ship he was on? But you're right. There's so many there. Like, so have they just been hanging out in this other place and looking at artwork and talking about and he's just investigating the whole society, and he's already taken over that whole other galaxy. Like, he's Grand
I don't
Admiral
know.
Thrawn. Like, if he could take
It's
over a
been a
whole
while.
galaxy with one starship and a bunch of people on that ship to be able to make that happen. He was already going to do it where he was. So be interesting to see what kind of authority and power he might have already in the place that he's at.
How long has it been since Thrawn was gone? Like Luke is like 18, and then like I think Rebels ended like 6 years before Yavin, right? So it's like
I
25 years, and then like add on the 6 years
the extra
after Return of
6.
the Jedi.
Yep.
So it's like 31, 32 years that Thrawn has been over there.
Yeah, something like that, because I remember seeing a bunch of folks talking about how they don't think Shin is she wasn't born prior to Order 66. She looks too young. So
Yeah.
a lot of people think that she's Balin's daughter
Oh,
as a result. And so that's why she has the Clone Wars tech. You saw the Clone Wars tech
yeah.
on her headset. That's the tech that Balin had when he fled. And that's why I brought up the idea of what if he's trying to get back at Thrawn, because he blames the Empire and maybe something happened where that
Or
is
his
what
wife
caused
being
his
gone or something.
yeah, something like that. But that would feel
That'd
too
be
loose.
interesting.
I still think your point of power is too strong of a point.
I just think he like maybe it is to bring
But
someone back. Maybe there's a power
yeah,
over there. Like
yeah,
that's always the draw in
yeah.
stories, right? Bringing someone back. So maybe it's that. But yeah, I don't know. I just think that like whenever Thrawn, like we find out what he's been up to, it's no good. No good is what he's been up to. And it's like acquiring assets of some kind while he's been over there. We know that's going to be something.
Yeah, well, and that'll be an interesting way to. It's not as clear cut. When I saw the trailers, I had in my mind, oh, they're going to go here to get Ezra, and then they're going to go here to get Thrawn, and now I'm confused and I'm not quite sure, and I think that's good.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But ultimately, I think out of the 3 episodes, the third was my favorite out of the 3. I think that it began a little slow. I was a little kind of like, wow, 6.5 minutes of training. Um, I would have maybe gone a little bit faster with that. But then
Yeah.
after that, the rest of the episode just took off. Now, you did mention you mentioned something. What did you think of Hera with the council and the senators
Yeah.
and all of
Yeah.
that? Because I actually didn't like it.
Oh, really?
So I want to hear what you liked about it, and I'm going to share what I didn't like about it, and we'll see if
Okay.
it lines up.
What I liked about it was showing Hera being part of it.
Mm,
Like, because for a long
okay.
time, like ever since Rebels, we've gotten little hints, right? Like we see the Ghost with some of the ships going in. What is it called? What's the
Oh,
movie? The best Disney Star Wars movie.
oh, Rogue One.
Rogue One, yeah, of going and helping there. So we saw the Ghost there. We've gotten little hints of like General Syndulla, like stuff like that. But to
Yeah.
actually see Hera like with like the
Mm,
authority, like talking to the senators and being a general and giving a report, I really dug being able to actually see that and to
mm,
see like the interactions even with Mon Mothma and like, oh, Jason's somewhere hanging out with Chopper, which like, I mean, my heart grew like 3 inches. Like it was just like, oh, so I love that thing.
yeah.
Like I love being able to see like those two having a good time together. I'm kind of bummed that we actually didn't see that. We just saw Jason run up, but
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
to see Chopper with him would be like really cool. But yeah, so it's that stuff's awesome. And then to see like a little bit of like it is bureaucracy, right? Like it is like politics, and even though Mon Mothma has done so much
Yep.
to like go against the Empire and to establish this thing, all it takes is some rich boy with an attitude to be
Yeah.
able to throw things into chaos and mess up everything. And I like being able to see, even though she's a hero, it's
Mm.
still people with money and power making decisions.
That are best for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the only thing that almost saved it for me was that this mirrors real life in a lot of ways of uh, senators making the decision that everyone in the room is looking at going, no, that's the wrong decision. And they're
Yeah.
like, we don't care. We're making this decision. For me, the two things that bothered me is one, um, I didn't like how Hera put the mission second. She let her emotions get the best of her. And I understand what they're trying to do is to show that she is emotional. But
Hmm.
I think most oftentimes she was the one that was always pulling in the emotions of everybody else in Rebels and saying, hey, we have to keep this under control. Maybe that speaks to how conflicted and broken she is,
Sure.
that she's losing control. But I would have really, I don't know, it felt at the time being maybe felt a little out of character. But that's okay. It's not the end of the world. The bigger thing for me is it really frustrates me that you literally just took down a Imperial sympathizer ring.
Yeah.
You literally just, it's not like, oh, there's maybe people. No, they were making stuff for the bad guys, yelling for the Empire. And yet you're like, that's not that big a threat. Even if you disagree with and you think, like Zono said, it's all personal, you're just trying to get Ezra back. Even if you agree with that, you could still find a very clear line of path saying, wait, you put a transponder on the thing that was stolen from the people that are for the Empire. Yeah, we got to go get them. Right?
Yeah.
Like, even if you put Thrawn aside, even if you put Ezra aside, there should be a train of thought. And for me, what this shows is that the new Republic is weak. The New Republic is broken. The New Republic is barely holding on. And for some, they're like, yeah, exactly. I'm like, no, I want to see Thrawn come defeat a formidable opponent, not a broken, barely existing New Republic.
Ooh, that is a really good point. Like of being able to look down the road. I haven't thought about that. Like I've just been thinking about in the moment and being like, well, yeah, I could see, a new government would have a hard time getting things off the ground, and even having to use like these imperialists
Yeah,
as workers in these different government systems. Like I like that makes sense to me.
sure.
But that is a really solid point. If the
Well,
build up is to see Grand Admiral Thrawn being Grand Admiral Thrawn, like, then
yeah.
wouldn't you want to show the Republic as more formidable? And
Or
so
at least
far they've
Mon
been
Mothma,
shown.
right? Imagine,
Yeah.
so they're saying we're going to talk, and then they come back, and Mon Mothma says, "You've got your ship," and Zono leaves angrily out of the chat, like to show that Mon Mothma overruled them and said, "This is what we need to do." Uh, to show her strength, I think would have been interesting. Now, obviously, they want Sabine and Ahsoka on their own. They don't want to create a whole space battle in the fourth episode, I think, which I get. But at the same time, for me, yeah, so that was where my brain went with it.
They should have
But
at least sent, a couple people to go and check it out, right? Like, because they took off with a huge hyperdrive. That's
send
so valuable.
send
Like,
Zeb. Be like, we'll
yeah,
call up Zeb and a few of the folks on the outer rim. We
yeah,
could spare them and go.
yeah. And even like, I mean, she's a general. I think she could make that call
Yeah,
of like, all right,
yeah,
I'm gonna, and especially with her buddy, right, to get Zeb to go and check it out. Like that
yep.
would have been an easy call. Um, here's something I'm thinking about as you're describing that. Uh, the only formidable force that we've seen so far is the Mandalorians, and we have a Mandalorian being trained in the ways of the Jedi,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to be a crossover with the Mandalorian.
Yep.
Like that's what we're building towards. So I'm thinking that we're not going to get a New Republic versus Grand Admiral Thrawn. It's going to be Mandalore versus Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Probably. That's a
But
good
like
point.
there's not a lot of Mandalorians either, so like there's that. That's a problem. But
No, but it gives enough time, I think, between because isn't it 2 years since Mando season 3 that this is happening, or am I
I
wrong
have
in
no
that?
idea about the timing
Yeah,
between those two.
I
Yeah.
can't remember, or maybe it was 2 years in between season 2 and 3. There's a
We need
gap
a chart,
somewhere.
man. We need a chart to
Yeah,
help
big.
us understand the timing of all these things because it's getting a little crazy at this point.
Yeah, it used to just be was it before or after like Vader, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I can deal with that. Now it's like, wait, it's 3 years here and then 7 years here and then
Yeah.
carry the 4 and yeah,
I didn't know I'd
don't.
be doing so much math with Star Wars.
Oh man, yeah. So, what else to you stuck out about the episode that you enjoyed, or are there any things that you're like, man, I just didn't like this or that or whatever?
I would agree with you that it is the best episode so far. Like I really dug like once the like Ahsoka Sabine like relationship started to actually look like they had known each other. Like like it's just like you didn't really get a lot of interactions other than but now we get some dialogue and
Not one
it seems
flashback. Not one flashback.
yeah.
Like they could have dealt with. Like, imagine if they had flashback just even a little bit to show Ahsoka deserting Sabine. I think
Mhm.
that would have been so much more powerful than the like, I'm not talking to her. Well, I'm not talking to her. Like that we kind of got that is
Yeah.
I
They
think they've
seem
passed it, but
they seem like feuding sisters.
yeah.
And like I think that's probably relatable for a lot of people, but to understand why they feuded in the first place would be probably better for storytelling. But whatever. If they just want to get past that and get to where they're going, okay. I'm all right with it now. It just took me a while to get on board. I
Sure.
will say probably one of the coolest things was just Ahsoka being in space like that, and the suit looked awesome. Like
Yes.
my wife was watching it with me and she's like, how is that suit like perfect for her hair? And I was like, babe, that's a Twilight. Like they have like it's part of her head. Okay.
Yeah.
So it
It's not
makes
just
sense
hair.
like it
It's
would
not
be a
just
suit
hair.
like that.
Yeah.
I had to nerd out on her so hard. But like
As you
I thought
should.
she
As you
looked
should.
awesome.
Yeah.
Like she looked
Yeah.
really cool. And to be out there of just like I like when she said like I'm gonna go stall, I was like, what are you gonna do? but she
Yeah.
literally did exactly what I thought she would do, but it was awesome. Like, just to be out there with the lightsabers, I thought so cool. And then to see like all right, they're beginning to work together really well, to shield her with the wing as it's coming up and like
Mhm.
use that to like throw herself into the ship. That was so cool. So I
Yeah.
really dug like little things like that. Um, but yeah, I want more Balin. Like, I feel like we didn't get very much of him at all, and maybe it's just because it's Ray Stevenson, and I just want to see him more on screen. But I just wish we
No,
got a little bit more from him in this
I
episode.
I agree with the more Balin because Shin and Balin are the two most intriguing characters in the entire show right now because I know very little about them.
Yeah,
I know a lot about Thrawn. I know a lot about Ahsoka. I've read all their books. I know what they've been. I know who they've been. I know what they've done. Um, but Balin and Shin, these new characters, and to have named them after the wolves in Norse mythology that chase the sun and the moon, that
yeah.
bring about basically the end of the world. Like, to me, like, you don't do that by accident. That's on purpose. There's
Oh,
some
for sure.
there's something going to happen. Again, I think there's something going to happen around them that is going to be chaos of some kind. That this isn't going to end the way that Morgan Elsbeth wants it to, but I also don't think it's going to end the way that Ahsoka and Sabine want it to. I want, yeah. So I wonder what that will look like, and the intense. In my own mind, I've gone even to think like, do they go the nuclear and they just they end up being them against the world at some point, or yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure, but there's something there, and I'm intrigued by that. And what we saw from Ray or from Balin and Shin in the first opening minutes of the first episode, I'm like, more of that, please. And
Mhm.
I want to know who trained him, who was his master. I want to know how he got out of Order
It's gonna be Plo
66.
Koon, right? Or
I
like, how do you say it?
Plo
Plo
Koon,
Koon?
Plo Koon, you had it right.
Okay, all right.
Plo Koon is Dave Filoni's favorite Jedi. And
Yeah,
here's the connection. Do you know who found Ahsoka?
it was him.
It was Plo Koon. So Plo
Yeah,
Koon is going to be the master of Balin and the one who found Ahsoka.
yeah.
And I think that there's going to be something interesting in that investigation, or whatever it might be. But yeah, this next episode, there's probably going to be a lot of action, I'm guessing. But it's the lore that I'm intrigued in. It's the world building that I get excited about. Um, I'm glad to get lightsabers and flipping in outer space. I'm good for that. But I would love to get a little bit more of Balin and Shin. I agree with that for
And you
sure.
just want that Purgle caught stuck in that ring, and you want him to take off.
Riding the Purgle into space. And then, yeah, that for the sheer memes of it, honestly, I would enjoy that so much. But I also think that there's many that are not enjoying the show, and there's some that would look at what happened in outer space with Ahsoka and go, "That was dumb. Why didn't she die? Why didn't they get blown up?" And I'm like, just enjoy it. Which would you rather have? Would you rather have baby Leia in a trench coat escaping the Fortress Inquisitorius, or would you want Ahsoka with lightsabers doing flips in outer space and taking down starships? Like, come
I'm
on.
just saying it was cool. I thought
It,
it was awesome.
I think it
Like,
was too.
I could do like, yes, it's gonna be silly sometimes, but silly is Star Wars, you know? Like,
It is.
come on, look at the goofiness of that monster with the huge eyeball in the trash compactor. All right, there's an inherent goofiness in some of this Star Wars
Yeah.
stuff, and I embrace it. Like,
Yep.
now some of it, like, I'm not saying Jar Jar was great. I'm just saying, like, going out and being like, I'm gonna be kick butt with my lightsabers in space. It's pretty rad.
Yeah. Well, and again, it also furthered the storyline though. Like, and that's what for me I think was the best part, even though it was really cool. The fact that it showed the teamwork of Sabine and Ahsoka. They're getting on this same page, that she's flipping the ship at the right time in the right way to get her back into, like, there's teamwork that's happening.
Yeah.
So I think it wasn't just a, ooh, look over here at a shiny cool thing, but it also furthered the storyline in an important way as they're building this Padawan master relationship in the awesome dog fight and everything else that we got. So,
Oh, and one more thing with Hera
yeah.
that I thought was cool in this episode, like that dialogue that she had about like, were you in the war?
Mm.
So you just sat back and waited. You know, like that was so baller. like, that's when, like, I don't know, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I think she's a good actress, but I wasn't sold on her being Hera until that moment. Like to me, that was a very Hera moment of just being like, "You're really gonna come at me and tell me what to do?" And you just sat back and waited, for good fortune to find you. Like, I thought that was such a cool moment. I want more
I
moments like that.
I like the moment. I still think she would sacrifice for the good of the mission. And I think that either at that point she already knew it was a no, and so she went after it. But remember, and here's the thing: she went into that conversation knowing that Zono or Shono was in the conversation. She was
Yeah.
warned going in, so she already knew there was going to be a tension with him, and she didn't do anything to try and diffuse that. She just lit it on fire, which was pretty badass. I thought it was cool. I just thought, I think she would have done everything she could have, especially after she counseled Ahsoka all last episode. Sabine really needs you. You have to go help Sabine. You have to
Yeah.
do what's best for Sabine. And here Hera's like, screw that, drops the grenade and walks out.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like she probably knew it was like it's already over. Might as well.
That's what I'm guessing.
Let the
Yeah.
teeth out. But
I'm a general after all, right? Yeah. Like,
yeah. And I could just see that, like, of her saying something like that in Rebels to someone who was like being like, I think you can't do that. She doesn't like being pushed around, bro.
No. Here's the last question, or one of the last questions. What do you think is going to happen with Jason?
I don't think
Syndulla?
anything.
No.
Like, I think maybe, like, I'm curious whether we see any of those guys again. Like, I feel like we're at that point, or at least we're really close to it, where Hera's part of the story is just done. Like she's being told she can't go, and she said that she was going to, follow that order.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that she's done until maybe the end. So I think that we got, a look at him, and that's great. I would kind of be surprised if we go back to him, and I think it would actually be to the detriment of the pacing of the show if we spend so much time going back, because I don't know what the point is at this. Like, I mean, like, cool, we can spend time with them. I like them as characters. That's fun, but I don't see how they fit into the story if we're moving in this direction toward the other galaxy. If they can't help, what's the point?
Yeah, and they may not be back in the story until we're back from, if they even get off the ground. I don't know if everything's going to blow up and it's not going to work. But you're right.
It's got to work, right? Like they did show Grand Admiral Thrawn in that room, right? Like the
that's true.
what's her face is in.
Morgan
I think he
Elsbeth is
makes
in.
it to the ring in some way. So I don't know. Like they gotta get over there. If they don't, I think like I'm really nervous. like because how many episodes is this thing? It's 6 episodes in the series.
I think it's 8 or 9.
8 episodes. Okay, and we're 3 in, so there's 5 more episodes.
5 left.
If they're gonna go over there and be able to come back, that's a lot going on, because we're gonna want to spend an episode or 2 over there, right? Like we don't want to just pick up Thrawn and go. Like we want to explore that thing.
Well, yeah, and think about it, this whole 4th episode, I think, is going to be all the conflict on the ground and in the air with what's going on. So I doubt episode 4 is going to get us to there.
Oh yeah, I got a little visitor.
Visitors, we love visitors. Welcome.
You say hi.
Hi.
You hurt your hand? Okay. All right, you go back to bed. Night night. All right. See ya.
Speaking of hurt hand, I really didn't like in episode 1 when Sabine got stabbed.
Oh yeah.
I wanted her to lose an arm.
What happened? What happened to the long legacy of lost appendages in Star Wars?
Like, bring that
everyone
back.
just gets stabbed now, or gets their back sliced up. You know, like, come on. It's just like a little chippy choppy right there, and we're good.
And you could put on the mechanical thing, and like, it humbles her. She needed humbling. She needed to lose. I get that, but it also felt like, could it? I don't think anyone would have been upset if she had lost her painting hand, her artist touch.
Yeah,
but
I think it, like, they obviously in the shot they showed purpose to show it wasn't like right in the middle, right?
Yeah,
like
it was
the
off
last
to the
couple
side.
that we've seen.
Yeah,
like they went off to the side, but it's just like, why even do it? Do it in the shoulder then.
Yeah,
you know, like that. Like she went for like the chop and missed and like sliced off her shoulder and she's knocked unconscious. You know,
yeah.
like we could have done a lot. Like I think that was a big thing to do to just anger people. Like they had to know as soon as they did that after Obi-Wan.
Yep.
Like as soon as they did that, they knew what they were getting themselves into with the fans.
Yeah.
So I think it was a really bad
decision. Is that a remnant of Disney trying to make something else better, that they think it'll make other things better if someone else gets stabbed and lives, as opposed to a Filoni decision?
Dumbest thing I've ever heard. like I get what you're saying, but if that's their reasoning, that's so stupid.
Well, I'm at the point where let's
just do the really dumb thing again.
That's
it won't be as dumb.
I feel like that's exactly what they would choose, is the dumb thing. But
it's Glass Onion, man. When Daniel Craig is like, they're like, oh, it's so dumb, it's brilliant. No, it's just dumb. I hope they never do it again. If you get stabbed in the stomach, you're a goner, right? Like you get shot in the stomach, you're a goner. You get
it's a
slice, goner.
So here, the only thing that I'll say is the wound is almost automatically cauterized. So the bleeding out that you might get from a gut wound, that's usually how it gets you. You just bleed out. But here's my frustration, though, is you already know it's a point of contention.
Yeah.
Like, you know it's not great. Have her get injured. She could have lost and not gotten injured, or could have lost and been knocked unconscious, or it just bugged me. I'm okay that we've gotten past it. It doesn't ruin the show for me, but if there were a bunch more moments like that, man, I would be struggling. But luckily it's not. So,
yeah. Do you have any
we shall see
conspiracy like ideas about what could happen, you know, with these 5 episodes that are left? Any like big, like, ooh, I could see this happening that's kind of like out of left field?
I think I could see a situation where Luke Skywalker shows up in the next 5 episodes. Really? Here's what I think could happen. Ahsoka and Sabine lose in this next episode. And as a result, Morgan Elsbeth and Shin and Balin are out of there. And now they have to go talk to Luke and say, Thrawn is coming back, and we need your help. Or something along those lines. I mean, Ahsoka knows where Luke is.
Yeah, that's true.
They hung out in Mandalorian. And I don't want Grogu. I don't want Mando. I don't leave them where they are.
No.
I want this to not be that yet. It's going to get there eventually, but I think that there could be something with that, and there could be something with entangled in that is maybe a Force ghost of Anakin appearing to Luke, counseling him to go, and he shows up or something.
Rad. Oh, something. I'd kill for that scene. Oh man.
So
that sounds awesome. I would love to see something like
be,
that.
because he feels this need to go here, and he comes and he finds Ahsoka and Sabine broken and in need of whatever's going to happen next. And then when Thrawn comes back, Luke is part of the picture. Like I know that might overshadow Ahsoka, but I think that yeah, I don't know. That would be something that I would hope to see, but I don't think it's going to happen. But I'd really like that. So
My other conspiracy, other than Marok being Ezra,
yeah,
I think Shin is Mara Jade. I think it's going to happen. It's their version. Like, I
their
don't know if she'll
version.
change her name once she changes teams. I think there will be, like, I don't even know if it is changing teams because she's not a Sith. But like, she's obviously bad, so there's going to be something to that. But I kind of think that they're building her up to be, and she's about the same age as Luke.
Sure.
Like, you saying like Luke could be coming back in this thing. Like, I would be curious to see maybe Shin, becomes that kind of a character, and they're like, this is basically their version of Mara Jade.
Now, with how close Filoni is to George and George's lack of affinity for Mara Jade, that would be interesting.
Well, I think it would be a way, you don't have to call her that.
No.
But I think it would be a way to be like, to the fans, like, we all know who she is, but she's not called that, and it's a slightly different character, but it's basically that kind of thing. I think it could be something.
Now, this I will agree with. Cody Taylor says, while we're just saying names, because we're just mentioning everybody. Well, here, I've been waiting to.
Sometimes I just don't understand human behavior.
No.
Oh, that's
while we were just saying names, I want Kyle Katarn from the Jedi Outcast series. Yeah, he showed up. I think it's Kyle Katarn in the trailer for the new video game that's coming out, or Kyle Katarn type character. That would be interesting to bring him in. Sounds like you've got some excitement. Someone disagrees. Someone doesn't want Kyle Katarn to show up.
Someone doesn't want to go back to his bed.
Yeah,
Gonna have to deal with that in a sec, man.
Yeah, no worries. But Kyle Katarn would be interesting. I don't know they're going to go that deep into. But hey, we're saying it could be Luke and Mara Jade, and so why not? Why not Kyle Katarn? Hey, it's not the worst thing. I probably.
Are we going to get Dash Rendar in this thing?
I just want to see Zeb again. Bring Zeb back. Where's the rest?
He'll be there. There'll be something.
Where the ghost, yeah.
Like, I know you're saying it's going to end in like this like down kind of cliffhanger. I think we're going to have to get a family moment, right? Like, of the whole ghost crew back together and Ezra being a part of it. Like, we need that moment. Like, we need that moment of them being painted again, a new mural. And like, I want that. Now, maybe that doesn't happen until the movie, but I think we need that at some point.
Or I mean, hear me out. I mean, Thrawn's in charge. Thrawn is maybe overthrown already at this point, the New Republic, or something to that effect is in case, but it ends with a hopeful negative where the family's back together, but Thrawn's in charge is a possible. I don't know. Yeah, I think you're right. They'll all come together,
man.
So I'm excited.
I have to deal with this kid.
Yeah, you're good. It's not that time, guys. Thanks for being here, for hanging out. If you caught us on the replay, go follow Dean's channel, Movie Dean. It's down in the description below. He talks all things movies. He's watched way more movies than I have. I'm just the Star Wars guy.
I'm not saying it's healthy.
So, no,
I'm just kind of obsessed with it.
No one's saying it's healthy. So, but thanks for hanging out. And if you like this, you want us to do this again, let us know down in the comments below, and we'll make that happen, guys. Thanks so much. And remember, the Force will be with you always. See you next time. Bye.